In this video, we'll show you how to install a Cradle Airsoft Velocity Reducer into a KJW M4 version 2 bolt carrier. First thing you'll need to do is remove the bolt carrier from your M4. Also need to gather the necessary tools. You'll need a hammer, a pair of needle-nose pliers, preferably with a soft handle, a small flathead screwdriver, and a pin punch. First step is going to be to remove this pin in the side of the bolt carrier. I like to set my soft-handled pliers on a table and then set my bolt carrier across them. Then use my pin punch to tap out this bolt. This pin can be very, very tight the first couple of times you do this. Don't be afraid to hit it quite hard. With the pin removed, you can now pull this forward. You'll hear the spring pop forward in the body, but the nozzle still can't come forward because of the side lock plate. In order to remove the side lock plate, you'll want to get your pin punch. Press on the back edge of this plate from the inside of your bolt carrier. And press this and you'll see that it pops out the side a little bit, right here. Once it's popped out the side, press on the plate from the inside front edge. This will loosen it a little bit more. At this point, you'll be able to grab it with your fingers and simply remove it. You can now set your bolt carrier aside and pull just your nozzle out. The nozzle is held together with a pin and a threaded pin. First step is to remove the small pin on the back side near the seal. Again, we're going to use our small pin punch and a hammer. A couple light taps, and it should come out. Take this and we'll set it aside. Now, we'll get our small flathead screwdriver and we'll unthread this threaded pin from the side of the nozzle body. Now, these only need to be backed out about 5 or 6 turns, and then you'll see that they stop backing out on their own. You'll want to get your your needle-nose pliers and pull this pin out. Go ahead and set that pin aside. Now you should be able to pull this spring assembly out the back, this seal assembly out the back, and your valve will fall out. Also, a spring will fall out. Now, the way these velocity reducers work is they come with 5 small washers installed on the body of the reducer. Right now I have 2 installed. This is a good place to start when you're tuning your velocity. If you want to decrease your velocity, add more. If you want to decrease, remove them. Never run the reducer without a black O-ring in front of the rings. That will hold the rings in place and provide a good gas seal on the inside of the nozzle. To install the reducer, select number of rings, put on the black O-ring, and then slip the spring over the nose of the reducer. They'll stick together like this. Now drop these in to your nozzle, spring first. Make sure that it's lined up in its hole. You might need to shake a little bit. Now we're going to insert this seal assembly. Now we're going to take this spring assembly and we're going to press it forward. As we press it in forward, you'll see that it begins to compress the nozzle or the floating valve spring. Rotate the spring by looking through the gas port until you see that it's lined up so that a pin can come sideways through this bolt. With it sideways, we'll get our flat-headed pin again and we're going to insert it while still holding the spring forward through the nozzle, through the spring. We're going to try our best to line it up on the other side. I've got lined up and I've pressed it all the way in as far as I can by hand. I'm going to get my flathead screwdriver again and I'm going to screw it in as far as it'll go until it sits flush. It's nice and flush now. I'll get my small pin that went up here in the back. I'm going to put him back in. If he doesn't go in by hand, you can get the side of your pin punch and just press him in with the nose or with the side. Once he's back together, he's now ready to go back inside the bolt carrier. Grab your bolt carrier, slide this in, but you'll notice that this has a taper to it. The taper fits in a taper in the back of the bolt carrier. You'll want to line it up so that the taper points towards the rear of the bolt carrier on the side. Press it in and look through the hole as you press it. You'll see this small retainer pass through the hole and then line up. Go ahead and take your main pin that we removed in the first step and insert it back into the bolt carrier. Sometimes it can come better from one side rather than the other. This is lined up pretty well. I'm just going to push it in with the side of my pin punch here. If it doesn't go all the way in, you can press him the rest of the way in with a couple of taps. Alright, he's in flush now. Now it's time to insert your side lock plate. He slides in, there's a small track here. He slides in towards the front. We'll move the nozzle forward maybe a little bit. This sometimes makes it easier. Slide it in, press it flat against the side of the bolt carrier. Make sure this is returning on its own. At this point, the bolt carrier is ready to be back in the gun. If you notice your velocity isn't exactly where you want it, you can repeat this process, add or remove the associated rings until you get the velocity you desire.